Hey everyone, welcome to The Point, the series where I break down one singular point that's either really interesting or really important. This one is both. It is 3-1 in the third set tiebreak of the Beijing final. Alcaraz Sinner. It is part of a run of 7 points in a row by Carlos Alcaraz. And this may, all of the points in the tiebreak, there were a couple of great ones. This one probably the most memorable. And Carlos does something in this point that I don't think anybody else on the tour does. And I see Alcaraz do it regularly. So let's just play it through kind of real speed, and I'll talk through it, and then we'll break it down in more detail. Crush and rush by Alcaraz. Insane defensive lob to neutralize by Sinner. Crisp cross-court backhand here into an inside-in forehand attack. This is where Alcaraz goes on the counter, ends up at the net, half volley, Sinner backhand slice pass down the line, covered beautifully by Alcaraz, and he does the signature finger to the ear, let me hear it from the crowd celebration. Incredible. But let's go back to Jannik Sinner's inside-in forehand attack, because this is where the magic really begins for Carlos Alcaraz. It's an effective attack, right? Sinner ends up opening some space on the court with the cross-court backhand, and he rips this inside-in forehand with pretty good pace. It doesn't have as much depth as maybe he would want, but he gets Alcaraz moving. He has Alcaraz pushed, 5 feet back behind the baseline. This is a position that Jannik probably feels like he has an advantage in the point at this stage. Alcaraz wrestles that advantage away with one swing of the racket, because this running forehand is spectacular. It's got so much on it. It is sharply angled by Alcaraz. It's what he does after, though. I'm going to stop it here. What Alcaraz does after he hits this forehand is what is entirely unique about what we're seeing here. It is a counter-attack approach shot. There is nobody who approaches off of this ball. And the reason is it requires, first of all, insane speed and athleticism to go from moving laterally. You're going east-west, and then suddenly you got to go north. You go from harsh lateral movement to aggressive vertical movement. That requires a ton of quickness, and most players simply aren't fast enough to pull this off. But even the players who are fast enough to pull this off are not wired in a way where they are so intent on proactively getting forward, and they may not have the awareness to even recognize fast enough that they have an opportunity to come forward, even if they are a player who is inclined to come to the net and volley whenever possible. So you really need 3 things if you're Alcaraz. You need to have incredibly aggressive intention, and you need to be wired that way. You need to have the recognition that you've just hit a shot that is going to produce a weak ball from your opponent, and that needs to happen instantly. If there's any hesitation, there's no way you're going to get to the net. And then the third thing you need is the athleticism to pull this off. So again, running forehand by Alcaraz, somehow hits the brakes, darts forward. He hits a half volley from his shoelaces. Now we're looking at a test of how soft Alcaraz's hands are. First of all, he skips the split step here. Doesn't need to split step because he knows he's not going to really need to diverge his path. And luckily, he gets a ball pretty central from Sinner. He's just trying to get as close to the net as possible here, because the closer he gets to the net, the less time the drop volley will be suspended in the air. So closer to the net is better whenever you're trying to hit a drop shot. Also, it's a little bit easier to be precise on a drop shot when you're closer to the net. Your target is a little bit closer to your contact point, which makes that finesse a little bit easier to pull off. However, he's still hitting a half volley, and it's never easy to be as delicate with a half volley as a conventional volley. But Alcaraz gets this pretty short in the court. And mind you, on the previous point, the 3-love point, he also hit a half volley, and he covered the cross-court pass by Sinner and knocked the next volley away for a winner. This time, I think Alcaraz does something pretty cheeky here. He doesn't recover very hard to his right, and he kind of shows Sinner the line. And if you're Jannik Sinner right now, you're thinking, all right, Alcaraz is covering the cross court. There's no space on the cross court angle, but there is space down the line. And I think Alcaraz shows him that space intentionally because he's ready to clog up that hole. And I mean, it takes an impeccable amount of athleticism and again, an explosive move out of the split step for Alcaraz to cover this Sinner passing shot. But he does. Again, creativity, awareness, athleticism, it's all coming together in a way that is just so different. And here we have, once again, one more time, the counter-attack approach shot that I don't think anybody in the world even attempts. This has been The Point.